Hey, it's not loneliness, it's clarity. Most men don't stay single because they're broken. They stay single because they're awake. And once you start seeing things through the lens of Stoic psychology, there's no unseeing it. This isn't about bitterness. It's about male solitude that's born from choice, not defeat. A choice forged by inner discipline, sharpened by emotional detachment, and protected by masculine self-control. You're about to understand why a growing number of men are rejecting shallow validation in exchange for something far more powerful: self-mastery. Miss this, and you'll keep playing a game you never agreed to in the first place. If this message already resonates with something deep inside you, share this video. It might be exactly what another man needs to hear right now. Let's unpack the invisible chain that so many men are quietly breaking, and why it changes everything. Why so many men choose solitude through Stoic psychology. He didn't vanish, he just stopped explaining himself. More and more men are stepping back, not out of weakness, but out of something deeper, something you feel but can't name yet. This isn't about being afraid of relationships. It's about seeing the hidden cost behind them. A cost that threatens your male independence, your inner power, and most of all, your emotional sovereignty. You may think you're alone in this, but you're not. You're part of a quiet rebellion grounded in Stoic psychology, and it's growing. Pause for a second. When was the last time you made a decision that was fully yours? Not influenced by guilt, not pressured by expectations, but born purely from your own rational decision-making. That's the foundation of Stoic mindset, cutting through emotional noise to reclaim control. Many men are realizing they've been reacting, not choosing. And when they finally start choosing, people call them distant, cold, even broken. But is it really that? Or is it masculine clarity finally kicking in? There's a difference between running away and walking away with intention. Male solitude isn't a symptom of failure. It's often the first sign of awakening. When a man steps into emotional detachment, it's not because he's numb, it's because he's done with chasing highs that always come with hidden strings. That's purpose over pleasure in real time. It's the guy who deletes the app, doesn't text back, and finally starts listening to his own silence. You might not even notice when it begins. It starts small. Maybe you stop arguing, you stop over-explaining, you start enjoying your own space. That's how silent strength looks. No grand gestures, no dramatic exits. Just a man reclaiming his peace, one ignored expectation at a time. Masculine boundaries become less about saying no to others and more about saying yes to yourself. It's not loud. It's not flashy, but it's absolutely unshakable. Let's talk about the script men are expected to follow. You know the one? Hustle hard, succeed, find the one, settle down. But here's the catch. What if that script was never yours to begin with? What if the whole idea of completion through someone else was just noise drowning your instinct for self-ownership? That moment when a man questions the narrative he was handed, that's when the shift starts. That's when psychological armor begins to form. You can feel it when it happens. The moment a man realizes that peace is more powerful than performance, that depth is better than attention. He steps off the stage. He stops performing in relationships built on fragility. He builds from the inside out, using disciplined thinking as his compass. And no, it's not easy, but it's real. And once you taste it, the thought of going back to surface-level validation feels unbearable. There's a name for what most men feel but can't say out loud. Emotional restraint. It's not repression, it's refinement. You start filtering what gets your energy. You learn that not everything deserves a reaction. That's masculine self-control in action. You don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. The only question that matters becomes, does this align with who I'm becoming? And if the answer is no, the silence speaks for you. Every man hits a threshold, an invisible line where the trade-off becomes too expensive. The more he gives, the less he gets in return. That's when he stops blaming others and starts asking better questions. He begins to value autonomy mindset over approval. He notices that being alone doesn't feel like punishment anymore. It feels like protection, not because he's anti-connection, but because he's pro-truth. That's the DNA of modern masculinity, choosing alignment over attachment. And that changes everything. Think of it like this. A lion doesn't announce that it's leaving the herd. It just goes, quietly, with purpose. That's how Stoic psychology operates. It's not emotional withdrawal, it's emotional precision. It's about learning how to hold space for yourself without expecting the world to clap for it. And you start building habits around that clarity. Meditation, cold showers, reading Marcus Aurelius, practicing saying less. These aren't just trends, they're training for mental toughness. Quiet, invisible, essential. Now, here's the twist. The world doesn't reward men who unplug. It questions them, ridicules them, labels them. But that's exactly why the work is real. Because the minute you stop being easy to manipulate, you're suddenly seen as difficult. You start to value solitude by choice over shallow approval. And when you do, the pressure to impress evaporates. What's left is raw authenticity. That's rare. And rare things, they intimidate those who can't control them. Let me tell you about Daniel. Mid-30s, corporate career. Had everything on paper, but felt empty inside. He kept dating women who said all the right things but lived by the opposite. After his third serious relationship collapsed, he didn't spiral. He went silent, started waking up at 5 a.m., journaling, training. He dove deep into Stoic psychology and learned to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. That's when his real life started. Not louder, stronger, not faster, clearer. Daniel isn't special. He's just awake. He started applying inner discipline not just to his fitness, but to his time, his attention, his thoughts. He stopped offering explanations to people who weren't listening anyway. He didn't ghost the world, he just stopped auditioning for it. And slowly things shifted. His energy returned. His confidence became quieter, but sharper. People noticed. But by then, their opinions didn't matter much. That's what emotional resilience does. It anchors you, even in silence. Too many men are walking around burned out from giving what was never returned. Not just in relationships, but in life. And when you mix that with a lack of self-ownership, you get confusion, not clarity. You get anger, not direction. But when you start aligning with who you truly are, you develop a filter. You stop negotiating your standards. You stop bending your values. And instead of chasing love, you start radiating masculine clarity. Here's the shift. Men are no longer afraid of being alone. They're afraid of losing themselves in something fake. That's why they embrace male solitude, not as a prison, but as a fortress. A place where psychological armor is crafted in peace. Where emotional detachment isn't avoidance, but freedom. This solitude isn't dark. It's clean. It doesn't echo with loneliness. It rings with sovereignty. And the more time they spend in it, the more they become undeniable. There's a specific kind of peace that only a man who's turned inward can describe. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's addictive. You wake up without tension. You walk without urgency. You stop overthinking texts, overgiving in conversations, and overextending your soul. That's the reward of self-mastery. And what's wild? People start calling you mysterious, even cold. But you're not cold, you're clean. You've emptied the noise, and in that silence, you found something stronger than love. Freedom. Let's be honest, most men aren't shown how to do this. They're told to tough it out, suppress emotion, man up. But real strength isn't suppression. It's emotional restraint rooted in intention. It's knowing you could react, but choosing not to. That's masculine self-control. That's maturity. You don't become less of a man for being silent. You become more of a one when that silence has purpose. The kind of purpose that reshapes your identity. The kind that makes solitude feel sacred. And here, a pause worth taking. If everything you've heard so far is stirring something inside, if you're connecting the dots between Stoic psychology, male solitude, and your own journey, don't let this moment slip. Hit that like button now and subscribe, because what's coming next will shift your lens even deeper. This isn't just insight, it's fuel for your transformation. And trust me, missing the next piece would be like stopping mid-revelation. Let's keep building this armor together, brick by brick. Let's clear something up. Solitude by choice is not loneliness, it's presence. A man who embraces silence isn't disconnected. He's dialed in to his body, his thoughts, his next move. He walks differently because he's not reacting anymore. He's designing. You'll see it in the way he speaks. Less filler, more weight. In how he listens, less distracted, more deliberate. That's the mark of a man building inner power. And the more time he spends there, the less he tolerates anything that dilutes it. This isn't just mindset, it's muscle. Think of self-mastery like lifting emotional weights, saying no when it's easier to say yes, walking away from drama without needing to be right, choosing peace over pride. These are micro reps that build psychological armor. And just like in the gym, growth is invisible at first. Then one day, people look at you differently. But by then, their approval isn't the goal, it's just noise. And you've already learned how to tune that out. When men start living like this, something fascinating happens. The world slows down. The chaos doesn't stop, but it no longer enters. Because now there's a gate, and only what aligns with your stoic mindset gets through. You're no longer looking for someone to complete you. You're already whole. And that shifts your relationships, your habits, your entire framework. You don't chase anymore, you filter. That's not arrogance. That's rational decision-making finally taking the driver's seat. We don't talk enough about what this kind of man looks like in public. He's not the loudest. He's not performing. He's observing. He's calm because he's detached from needing to control outcomes. That's emotional detachment as power, not numbness. And women notice. People notice. But the point isn't to be noticed, it's to be unshakable. That's what happens when you stop leaking energy everywhere and start living from a place of masculine clarity. Clean, focused, directed. You'll know you're evolving when peace feels more valuable than attention. That's the currency of modern masculinity. You're no longer interested in being wanted. You're interested in being respected. And here's the paradox. The more you stop trying to be chosen, the more people are drawn to you, because you don't need them to be okay. You've already cultivated your own ecosystem. That's emotional resilience. That's what builds gravity. And gravity doesn't chase, it attracts. Let's bring this to the ground level. Want to develop this energy? Start with small disciplines. Wake up at the same time daily. Take control of your breathing. Remove distractions. Train your body. Journal your thoughts. Sit with discomfort instead of numbing it. This is how you sharpen disciplined thinking. Don't wait for the perfect moment, engineer it. The more you align your outer habits with your inner compass, the more your self-ownership expands, and nothing can fake that energy. This energy repels manipulation. When you're anchored in masculine boundaries, people can't play games with you anymore. You see the test coming from a mile away. You don't explode, you don't beg. You observe. And your silence becomes louder than any argument. That's silent strength in its purest form. You become the man that others can't shake, because you're not performing for them. You're living for yourself. And that self is built brick by brick in solitude. You stop proving yourself when you finally met yourself. That's the moment male self-respect takes root. Not because you've achieved something flashy, but because you've chosen to stand still, observe, and build without applause. That's a rare kind of power. It doesn't beg, it doesn't flex, it simply is. And in a world full of noise, being unbothered becomes your superpower. Not fake detachment, but real peace. Earned, grounded, rooted in Stoic psychology, expressed through your everyday silence. Remember, the world rewards visibility, but transformation often happens in the dark. And that's why male solitude scares so many people. It exposes everything. The habits you ignored, the lies you told yourself, the ways you gave too much. But it also gives you space to rebuild without distractions. That's the birthplace of inner discipline. It's uncomfortable, but so is staying broken. One pain leads to growth, the other to regret. You get to choose. One of them will shape you, the other will drain you. Here's the part they never tell you. Once you truly step into autonomy mindset, you lose a lot. But what you gain is priceless. You lose shallow friends. You lose fake affection. You lose chaos, disguised as chemistry. But you gain your mornings back. You gain control of your time. You gain peace that no one can pull from under you. That's the paradox of growth. You don't end up with more, you end up with better. Men who embody this aren't emotionless. They're just no longer addicted to emotional chaos. They've trained themselves to pause, to breathe, to watch. That's masculine self-control refined through experience. And it shows up in moments that used to knock them off course. A rude comment, a rejection, a power play. Now, it barely registers. Not because it doesn't matter, but because emotional sovereignty means you no longer outsource your peace to anyone. You own it. You can feel when a man has done this work. He moves differently, talks differently, listens with purpose, not performance. His presence alone shifts the room. That's not ego. That's silent strength that doesn't need validation to breathe. He's no longer seduced by noise or drama. He knows the price. He's paid it. And now he guards his peace like a gatekeeper, not to be cold, but to be whole. That's what happens when self-ownership becomes your foundation. You won't find this in mainstream advice. It's too nuanced, too real. That's why men who pursue this path often walk it quietly. But make no mistake, it's a revolution, not loud, not flashy, but powerful. The kind of revolution where disciplined thinking, emotional detachment, and stoic mindset redefine what it means to be a man. And not just for the world, but for yourself. You stop imitating strength and start embodying it. That's where the change sticks. So if you've ever felt like you're outgrowing the room, like the noise is too loud, like your soul is craving space, it's not a crisis, it's a signal. A sign that male solitude isn't a punishment. It's a doorway, a transition point. And walking through it doesn't make you less of a man, it makes you more aware, more grounded, more precise. Because now you're no longer running, you're becoming. And that's irreversible. There's a strength that doesn't shout, doesn't pose, doesn't even need to be explained, it just exists. And it's built in solitude. This is the man who's practiced rational decision-making so often that doubt has no grip on him anymore. He doesn't wait for permission. He doesn't apologize for evolving. That's masculine clarity. He's not above others, but he's no longer beneath his old self. His gaze is steady, his choices are firm in his direction, chosen, not inherited. When you embrace purpose over pleasure, something shifts forever. You start craving meaning more than stimulation, growth more than excitement, depth more than validation. That's how Stoic psychology rewires you. It doesn't numb your feelings, it elevates them, refines them, makes them yours again. And once that switch flips, returning to chaos feels unbearable. You've outgrown the noise. And that silence, it doesn't scare you anymore. It strengthens you every day, every moment, every decision. The man who's been forged in solitude doesn't need to be told he's enough. He already knows. Not arrogantly, but deeply. His psychological armor isn't made of pride. It's made of proof. Internal victories no one saw. Late nights, hard choices, quiet rebuilds. That's where mental toughness is formed, not on stages, in silence. And the more he walks that path, the more unshakable he becomes. Not perfect, not emotionless, but rooted, steady, fully his own. So when you ask why so many men remain single, understand this. It's not about giving up on love. It's about no longer sacrificing identity just to be accepted. It's about choosing emotional sovereignty over codependency, male solitude over performance, self-ownership over approval. That choice isn't for everyone, but for the man who makes it, it changes everything. Because once you build your foundation in silence, you never again fear standing alone. You've just heard the truth that most men only feel, but rarely voice. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Will you keep giving your energy to places that drain you? Or will you finally reclaim your self-ownership and start building from the inside out? Because the reality is, no one's coming to hand you your masculinity. You either forge it through inner discipline and emotional restraint, or you stay trapped in a cycle of quiet frustration, forever waiting for permission to become the man you already know you can be. So I want to hear from you. What part of this hit the hardest? Drop this in the comments. I choose solitude by design. Let that be your signal. Your mark in the sand. Your first brick in a foundation that can't be shaken. Thank you for being the kind of man who sticks around until the end. Not just of a video, but of a conversation that matters. If this content gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Like this video, send it to someone who needs it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started. And the journey ahead, it's not just powerful, it's necessary.